the Astrology of Terrible Things. We're the podcast that shares astrology charts of terrible events with all the identifying information removed. And then we try to guess what happened on that date during that time, just based on the position of the planets. I'm your host, Karla Heath, and I'm a writer in Los Angeles. And I'm here with our new co-host, Emily Simile. Find her on TikTok at Emily Simile. Emily spelled with an IE. She does the short form Astrology of Terrible Things TikTok episodes, which are a delight. Joining us as well is Karla Herschell, a healer, an intuitive, and host of the Cosmic Batter podcast, coming to us from the Southern Hemisphere. Welcome, Karla.
Thanks for having me. So happy to be back.
Yes, I'm so glad you're back. And I realized I just barreled through the intro and I didn't get to say, welcome, Emily. So welcome, Emily.
Thank you.
Neptune is definitely in Aries now. I'm excited to see the chart that you have to share today.
Yes, we can go ahead and get into it. I chose this one specifically because of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction.
Oh my gosh. So many Saturn-Neptune.
I know. I've just been thinking a lot about it recently. I just feel like it's so evident and like prevalent in our society right now.
So this is a Sagittarius rising chart, 22 degrees Sagittarius with Jupiter in Gemini in the 7th house. And Jupiter is in its detriment in Gemini. And so then we look to where is the ruler of Gemini? That looks like Mercury in Cancer, very close, just past the conjunction with Uranus. So where is the moon, which is the ruler of Cancer? That is in Libra in the 11th house, applying towards the midheaven, and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which is just past the midheaven. So where is Venus? Venus is actually in Taurus in the 6th house. So indignity by sign rulership, but in the 6th house, which is not a fun house. Not a fun house. So what else is going on? Mars is also in Cancer. Pluto is in Leo. And so this is a 1950s. I shouldn't have said that. I pretend I didn't say that. So Uranus is in Cancer. What are the other outer planets doing? The North Node is in Aquarius. And did we say Saturn, Neptune, Uranus? I think we said all of them. Where's Saturn? Saturn is in the 11th conjunct Neptune. The whole point of this thing. Okay. I think I said them all.
And it's a night chart, and so Venus is in a good position.
It actually is.
Oh no, it's a day chart. Yeah, sorry,
it's
Sun
just
is above the horizon.
Around. Yeah, it's like above the horizon.
Venus is in her fall. Is that the word where Venus doesn't do as well in a day chart?
Yeah, I think detriment would be a good word for
detriment.
But Venus is in rulership. So she's in Taurus, which is the sign that she rules. It's just that she's in the 6th house, which is just not a good house. It's not, if an important planet is in the 6th house, it's not doing that great. It's about health. It's about misfortune. It's about
routines, is it?
Yeah. So I have questions. Is this something that affected multiple people?
Multiple.
Okay. Thought so.
Yeah, I'm just going to say things that I see. So Chiron in the 2nd house of Capricorn, but so the 2nd house being like the self and identity. So wounding is there. And you said it was around a group of people. And then there's a lot of placements in the 11th house, which is related to like larger communities, right? So Saturn and Neptune and the moon there.
And so the ruler of the chart, Jupiter, is in the 7th house. So I feel like there's some sort of partnership, one relationships vibe going on. The ruler of Jupiter is in the 8th house, which is death, depths, debt. Why did I say depths weird like that? Debts. And that's where Mars, which is the most malefic planet of the chart, is. Did anyone die here?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to know how many people?
Yeah. Was it multiple people dying?
Yes.
Okay.
I say that with a smile, but I don't mean to.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, yes.
I know the act of engaging with the chart is what's fun.
So Mars in Cancer, like high emotions. I feel like there's a protective energy with that moon in Libra ruling that 8th house. But being that the ruler of Libra is in the 6th house, the person who, especially if there's a female figure that's supposed to be able to help, is sick or disabled or not able to provide that help. And maybe there is a authority figure that is doing nefarious, duplicitous things. Because that sun in the 7th house being ruled by a Mercury in the 8th house of death. And I wonder if the reasoning behind this is financial, like you're wanting to steal money from other people. So was there an element, Emily, of stealing money from other people in this?
Stealing 100%. Money, no.
Oh, interesting. Oh. Since it's Cancer, okay, is it about
appearances? I wonder.
Is it about either stealing children, women, or animals? That's not a yes or no question.
No.
Could it be? Yeah, I gotta say, could it be related to like stealing? I don't know. The word appearances comes to mind. Like, are they trying to degrade someone else and present themselves in a positive way? Like,
is it about stealing land?
No, but I think you're getting a little bit. I like where you're going. I like the direction that we're going, but also I don't want to confuse you. I don't know. I think that we're definitely heading. I would say.
Is it about occupation, like occupying something?
No.
Is a cult involved?
There's no cult.
Okay.
With the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, there's like the breaking down of, especially Saturn is exalted in Libra in the 11th house. And the structures, the rules of a group joining with Neptune, the rules breaking down. Is there an element of the rules breaking down, the laws breaking down?
Laws, rules. I would say, yeah. I mean, it's very Saturn-Neptune in terms of laws and rules, maybe like not adhering as strictly to them as we should.
Fascinating.
Maybe was there some kind of accident caused by someone like just doing what they thought that they should do? Maybe don't answer that yet.
Yes.
like following
I mean, like, yeah, I would say somebody who is doing what they think is right is involved in this.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
Slay, points for me.
We can get into the chart if you want, but also, I don't know. I want to keep going a little bit.
I just want to add, like, is Mars conjunct the sun there? So I wonder if their aggression was feeling like, or the need to take action, feeling really aligned with the person, or like, this is my duty, or I have to do this, or that it's on display.
Yeah, I like that.
So, and just to confirm, Mars is in Cancer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, figured. Okay, so.
And it's like making that exact trine to the moon. I like that. Like the 50 degree
actually,
minute
it's a
and the
square.
54 square. Sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still, within the beams of the sun and the 7th house. So it's, it's passing the rays of the 7th house. So there's this also like glory, like seeking of glory.
Yeah.
And the Mercury rules the 10th house as well as the 7th house. So, and it's, just past this Uranus. So this sort of like, I wonder if there is Uranus is in Cancer, so weird. It's it's so like about changing the family, changing the way children are raised, changing the way we nurture, changing.
Actually, I feel like earlier, whenever you said something related to children, it is definitely lesser. But actually, what you were just saying there, changing the way that children were raised, is definitely in the aftermath of this event.
Fascinating. So it's also about kind of changing the way partnership is done, changing the way that we care about each other, you know, and that Pluto in Leo in the ninth house, law, government, institutions, rule, you know, being ruled by a seventh house sun, the idea of a partnership, two people. There's an element of two, since Gemini, because both Jupiter and the sun are in Gemini. So two things, two people, two changing an institution, changing a law, changing a sort of changing a religion, potentially even. In that Saturn-Neptune conjunction, Saturn also rules the second house and the third house. So finances are being changed here, and also the third house, transportation, neighborhoods, communities are like, we want to change finances, neighborhoods, communities for the better, but that means breaking something down in a strange way.
Was this really detailed in the media after?
I would say yes. A lot of people were aware of this happening. It was actually very public.
Yeah, because of the presence of Mercury and then Sun and Jupiter in Gemini, which can like talk a lot. And I feel that with that being then governed by or ruled by Mercury, and Mercury being near Mars, and then also having Pluto in Leo, and Leo being like very public, all of that. I feel like there's really elaborate stories being woven, either like in their justification for what they were doing and what they felt were right. I just feel the heaviness of like Mercury spinning around and around, but then also like the publicity from the event.
I also see that in the moon in the 11th house. I feel like that's very much like there are a lot of people who are paying attention to this.
And that Venus in Taurus is going into a square with Pluto. So Venus square Pluto, women workers becoming empowered, women health being empowered, women, and the sextile to Mercury, women speaking about relationships, women speaking about duty, women even changing their appearances, sisters, what other things? Venus, beauty, Venus finances, Venus in Taurus is stability. Also that kind of like food.
Well, like home energy, or home is really important.
Yeah, I definitely see that with all that Cancer aspect too. Home, Cancer, so many things going on.
Changing
here.
The way that children are raised, the home, stealing.
Don't think too terribly much about how changing the way that children are raised. I think it's more on a smaller scale than a larger scale. Sorry if that was misleading.
Okay. Interesting. And then the Mercury is squaring the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So,
and you said a lot of people died.
I said multiple people died. I didn't give a number, but I can if requested.
I am going to guess that is it under 10?
Yes.
Is it under 5?
Yes.
I'm going to guess that 3 people died.
Ooh, it's less than 3.
Okay, 2. Okay, so the Gemini was 2. Because sometimes I'm like, 3
It's very literal, this chart.
Okay, so 2 people died. Excellent. Okay, actually, 2 people died.
Were they partners?
Excellent.
Were they partners?
They were, yes.
Okay. Yeah. And was one of them involved in the law in some way? Or
one of them was more involved in like the military.
Okay.
and engineering and stuff.
Okay, interesting. That's fascinating. And was this person spiritual or religious in a weird way?
Think of other significations of the ninth house.
Oh,
Politics?
Yes.
Okay. Were they a politician?
They were not politicians.
Okay.
But
professor?
Having that, they were not professors.
Okay. A clergy, lawyer,
No.
Government official, you said military.
Like an assistant to any of these things?
Like a general.
One of them worked for a government military organization.
Okay. I'm ready to hear what this is.
Okay. Yes. I'm excited to tell you guys this story. Because I think it's especially interesting, and we are living through another Saturn-Neptune time.
Yeah.
This is the astrological chart of the execution of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. So this is a very fascinating story.
I know nothing about this. I am excited.
Awesome. Okay. I just thought that this event was especially relevant for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we're experiencing now. And it also coincides with the Salem witch trials, the Satanic Panic, and the Red Scare, which is when this event happened. I've always been fascinated with the Red Scare ever since I was in middle school, when there was a production of The Crucible that was put on by my community theater. And the playwright, Arthur Miller, was actually investigated during the Red Scare because he was suspected to be a communist. And the United States government was terrified of this in the 1950s.
Yeah.
And Arthur Miller used his experiences as being investigated, as a communist, and then encouraging him to name names in order to exonerate himself. He wrote a play set during the Salem witch trials. And I think that Saturn-Neptune conjunction there is very striking. So that connection is very cool.
So the Red Scare was a fear of communism?
Yeah.
Yes. The Red Scare was a phenomenon in the United States where there was an overwhelming fear regarding communism in the Soviet Union specifically. There had been two distinct periods of Red Scares, and the first one was immediately after World War I and the Bolshevik Revolution. And then the second Red Scare is what we'll be talking about today. And it took place during the 1950s following World War II and approaching the Cold War.
Yeah. And in Hollywood, a bunch of it was huge in Hollywood because it was oh no, all these writers and actors who are contributing to American culture are communists, and they're infecting the minds. And so all these Hollywood people had to go testify before Congress. And, then for a while, the unions had to have people, if you wanted to be a member, you had to sign a card saying you were not a communist. The teachers, even all the way up until the 90s, even when I was in school, if you wanted to be a teacher, you had to sign a card saying that you weren't a communist.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. We took it so seriously primarily because of Joseph McCarthy. Joseph McCarthy made a name for himself on February 9th, 1950 at an annual fundraising event for the Republican Party, called the Lincoln Day Dinner. And it was held in Wheeling, Virginia, in 1950. At this dinner, in his speech, which became known as the Wheeling speech, which I actually have a chart for, and I can put that here. I put the time for 7 p.m. because it's a dinner, but just take the houses with a grain of salt.
Yeah, Mars-Neptune conjunction at 17 degrees Libra. And, and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is at 20 degrees Libra in 1953.
And then they're both at 17 degrees retrograde, also making a semi-sextile to each other. So that's interesting. And then we have all this stuff in the 6th house ruled by Aquarius, very much he's trying to get us scared about the outsiders and all of that. So in this speech called the Wheeling Speech, he claimed that he had a list of 205 people that he believed to be communist spies who had infiltrated the US government and were sending the Soviet Union top secret information about atomic bombs and nuclear weapon design. So that's the stealing of information.
Okay, wow.
That I was talking about.
Oh my God, I should have paid attention to the fact that Gemini is an air sign and Gemini is about words. And I didn't even, I was so focused on the Venus in Taurus. I was thinking,
and also
we had different strengths.
A lot of sense. I'll explain this placement. Once we get there, it'll make a lot of sense too. Okay. So he was very much spreading there's hidden enemies within our government and they're dismantling the structure as we speak. So who is Joseph McCarthy? I have his chart and we have an AA rated birth time for him.
What does AA mean?
It means it has been verified by his birth certificate. Which is interesting because it is a rounded time, but it says it's AA on Astro Databank, so I trust it. But this is Joseph McCarthy's chart. We have an Aries rising chart with 25 degrees for his ascendant, which is directly opposing his Mars, which is conjunct his descendant in Libra. He also has a Venus Libra conjunction.
Yeah. Or Venus-Mars conjunction, but his Venus is at 18 degrees Libra. My Venus is at 17 degrees Libra.
Ooh.
That's fascinating.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So this is his chart. And he is a very interesting person. His ruling planet is Mars in Libra in the 7th house, exactly conjunct his descendant. So I think that this makes sense for how much conflict he had with his political opponents and also just people in general. We also see Uranus in his 10th house. He has a very chaotic reputation, known for causing problems within the government and just being an overall liar. He has Saturn in his 1st house, ruling over his 10th house Uranus, and I feel
Saturn
like this is
Aries,
someone,
where it's in detriment.
And it's like, this is someone whose identity is deeply intertwined with their career and the craziness of it. And just like being known for disrupting the US government structure, shaking things up and causing problems. He was born on a farm in Grand Chute, Wisconsin, and he was the 5th of 9 children. At age 14, McCarthy dropped out of school to help his parents take care of the farm, but he re-entered high school at age 20 and he earned his diploma within a year. Also living on a farm, I think, is so ruler in the 4th house that falls in the 6th house.
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked about that before. I think we talked about that for the
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt, and also the Christopher Reeves one with the location of the 4th house being in the 6th house and it being related to like horses and like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, in 1930, McCarthy began attending Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where he studied engineering for his first 2 years. And then he switched to law and graduated with a Bachelor of Laws degree in 1935. He also was admitted into the bar in 1935. In 1936, McCarthy ran an unsuccessful campaign for district attorney, but in 1939, 3 years later, he was able to win the seat for the 10th District Circuit Judge, and he was the youngest circuit judge in Wisconsin history. And he had defeated the incumbent, Edgar V. Warner, who had held this position for 24 years. And on the campaign trail, McCarthy lied about his opponent's age. He claimed that Warner was too old to continue to serve, and he said that the man was 73 years old when he was actually only 66. And this lying strategy will continue throughout most of his life and career, and I think it makes a lot of sense for that Scorpio Mercury in the 8th house. He's just a liar, and he doesn't mind using gross tactics and hitting below the belt if that puts him in the position that he wants to be in.
And can I say, like, I felt from the chart that you showed us that he was like stealing appearances and he really cared about appearances. And I felt like there's these massive stories happening around like how he's perceived. And then seeing this birth chart, like he has Saturn opposite the moon. So I feel like there's a huge pressure on the moon all the time. And in the chart of the event, we had the, Mercury was in Cancer, which was ruled by the moon. And so when the event happened, there would have just been like stories around what he should do and who he is and maybe how he can be perceived. I feel like just pumping through him in that moment. And like maybe how could it benefit him being a motivator?
Yes. And that continues. It really does. Like, he joined the Marine Corps to serve in World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, so in 1942. And during his time in the military, he served as an intelligence debriefing officer, and he worked with combat captains of dive bomb squads. So he did not actually participate in the combat. He just kind of like debriefed the people who did, but he really wanted people to think that he had participated in combat, so he lied about it. And I think we see this in the Mercury-Neptune trine. He's like very able to fabricate things about his life experiences to get people on his side. And a story went around about him saying that he tried to break a record for the most ammunition used during a single mission. For this, he was given the nickname Tail Gunner Joe. He claimed to have participated in 32 aerial missions that would qualify him for military medals and high honors, including the Distinguished Flyer Cross and the Air Medal. But he didn't do these things, but he still got the recognition.
It's like not a small lie. It's like, give me a medal.
It's like a really lie. He also claimed that his commanding officer, Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, wrote him a letter praising him for his accomplishments, but it would later come out that McCarthy just wrote this himself.
Oh my God.
And he also attributed an injury to his leg to a war wound, when in reality, he just got it on a ship when he and some other sailors were fighting and getting rowdy. So,
oh my God,
that was not a war wound. But so he exaggerated his wartime experience to impress his voters in his 1946 campaign for the U.S. Senate. And he attacked his opponent in the Republican primary, Senator Robert M. La Follette Jr., sorry, long name, for not enlisting in the military during the war, despite the fact that the senator was 46 years old at the time of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So he would have been too old for every single branch of the U.S. military, so he couldn't have joined even if he wanted to, but whatever. McCarthy not only won the Republican primary, but he also won the Wisconsin U.S. Senate seat.
Oh, wow.
So all of this lying gets him a bunch of...
It's so scary.
He gets himself into a position of power. But it wouldn't be until 1950 that McCarthy would become a political celebrity, like people actually knew his name, with the Wheeling speech. And he said, quote, "The State Department is infested with communists. I have in my hand a list of 205, a list of names that were made known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party and who nevertheless are still working in shaping policy of the State Department." McCarthy was successful in fear-mongering about communism by dividing the people into two separate worlds. There was the pure Christian Western world, and then there was the morally corrupt communists. And McCarthy said, quote, "The great difference between our Western Christian world and the atheistic communist world is not political, gentlemen. It is moral." Okay. Just a month before the Wheeling speech on March 8th, 1950, just a month following, Congress established the Tidings Committee to investigate McCarthy's claims. At the head of the committee was a Democratic senator from Maryland, Millard Tidings. From the beginning, the committee was prone to partisan infighting. So the Republicans could not agree with the Democrats, and there was no compromise. Despite the fighting, though, the conclusion of the Tidings Committee was that McCarthy's accusations were fraudulent. They said the accusations did nothing more than divide the American people and spread unnecessary fear. But the Republicans in Congress did not like this, and they claimed that the Democrats were turning a blind eye to the accusations in order to cover up treason. The Senate voted 3 times on whether or not to accept the report from the Tidings Committee, and each time it did not pass and was divided along party lines. But the findings of the committee didn't stop McCarthy. He continued to connect communism to immorality and make everyone scared that there were hidden Russian atheist spies infiltrating the government. And he encouraged this kind of snitching on each other culture. You shouldn't have anything to hide from your government. And if you do, that makes you guilty or immorality.
I mean, the legacy of this, though, lives on. If you've ever talked to a Gen Xer or a boomer about communism, they glitch out. You can't even talk to them about communism because to them, it's like talking to someone about Satanism or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, we're just about redistributing wealth and making sure that everyone has, and they're like, no, it doesn't work. It's awful. It's yeah. I
remember in primary school learning a little bit about it, say like in books, and I'd be like, wow, this sounds pretty good.
This doesn't sound
and my teachers would be like, no, that's the problem. It sounds good on paper. That is the problem, not in real life.
Yeah.
Like and that's power corrupts essentially, which is like the same thing we have now.
Definitely something that people try to push about it. I feel like it's very interesting and it's rooted here, you know, and like the villainizing of it.
They'll say communism doesn't work, but then like, oh, is capitalism working?
Capitalism doesn't work. And we will also talk about that here.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But so we're connecting communism to immorality. And so a group of people during the 1950s who had a lot to hide were gay people. In 1950, homosexuality was nowhere close to being acceptable in American society. There were no touch laws that prevented same-sex couples from publicly displaying affection, even things as small as holding hands. These laws were regularly enforced. Same with three-piece clothing laws, where people had to be wearing at least 3 pieces of clothing that matched the gender on their ID. So cross-dressing and drag was also criminalized. There were frequent police raids on known gay bars and clubs, and arrests were all too common. And so this period is called the Lavender Scare. McCarthy was able to convince many people across Congress that gay people should not be employed for the United States government because they were more likely to be blackmailed by the Soviets and used as spies. Because they had things to hide, like their sexual identity, they could be more likely blackmailed. And in 1953, President Dwight Eisenhower passed Executive Order 10450, security requirements for government employment. And in that executive order, it states that government employees would be investigated thoroughly, and their employment could be terminated on the basis of any criminal, infamous, dishonest, immoral, or notoriously disgraceful conduct, habitual use of intoxicants to excess, drug addiction, and sexual perversion. So sexual perversion meant homosexuality. So obviously this could be used against gay employees, and they were prevented from accessing any other government jobs as well, which impeded their career opportunities moving forward. And also for a lot of people, it exposed secrets and it destroyed families. A lot of gay men were closeted. They had wives and children, and this forever changed a person's reputation and upended so many lives. And an estimated 7,000 to 10,000 employees were fired or resigned from the government, from their government positions because of their sexualities during the Lavender Scare. And along with gay people, anyone who aligned with the Communist Party or even were remotely connected to it were persecuted and investigated by the US government. And this is when we get into Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Julius and Ethel were a married couple from New York City convicted of espionage, meaning they spied and provided top secret information to the Soviet Union.
Can you go back to the chart of their execution?
Yes. And I have both of their birth charts. I don't think we have birth times, but this is the chart of their execution, and I can also show their birth charts as I talk about.
Can I just say, with the chart of the execution, we have Mars in Cancer, and I'm specifically remembering Chris Brennan from the Astrology podcast. Like, we recently had Mars in Cancer, and he was talking about it, and he said Mars is so aggressive, and Cancer is like sweet and the home sort of thing, and he pictured it like there's like a chainsaw that comes in and chops off anything that you perceive that you don't need anymore. And this was like from last year. He said there was a picture of Elon Musk holding a chainsaw, and Elon Musk was temporarily in government and then like helping with the budget in America, obviously. And he cut out all these quote unquote unnecessary things, which are like supports and resources for maybe vulnerable or whatever. He just cut out all these resources.
Yeah.
And so this chart of the execution, Mars in Cancer, it's like, this person's a problem. Take them out. We can't have this.
And it's also about protecting the homeland,
Yes. I always think about that with Cancer and the United States. The United States is so Cancer in its defensiveness. And it's like, it's also very like, kind of, it's like white supremacy almost, like taken to an extreme. Only the people who are like me and my like
xenophobia.
It can very much show up like that. And I also think that Virgo Venus can sometimes show up like that, but that is just like other things.
Purity.
Yes. Yeah.
Neuroticism about purity is a very Venus and Virgo sort of thing.
This is the chart of Julius Rosenberg. So I will talk about him a
Venus
little bit.
in Aries and Sun in Taurus, Jupiter and Moon in Gemini. Wow. And so born with a Jupiter in Gemini, dies with
and
a
Jupiter in Gemini. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And Mars in Virgo squaring Jupiter.
Chiron conjunct his Venus is like so.
Yeah.
This is very much what happens to Ethel in this story. I can very much see this being Ethel.
Yeah, and Mercury at 0 degrees of Taurus.
And he was born during a Saturn-Neptune conjunction.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Wow.
Oh my God.
So many things. Wow. So he was born on May 12th, 1918 in New York, New York. We do not have a birth time for him, but based on his birthday and birthplace, he is a Taurus sun with a Gemini moon. He was also born during the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Sorry, these are just all the things that I wrote. So I think he was born to a family of Jewish immigrants who had immigrated to the United States from the Russian Empire. I couldn't find too terribly much about his early childhood, but he attended Seward Park High School in the Lower East Side as a teenager, and then the City College of New York during the Great Depression. The Great Depression had a very intense impact on Julius, and he became much more politically active. He and many others believed that the Great Depression proved that capitalism had run its course. It was not working. And in college, he joined the Young Communist League, which is where he met his future wife, Ethel. So I also think that that's the ninth house thing that we were talking about, where you were like, are they strangely religious? I think the ninth house of like kind of their political beliefs and like their, it was a little bit countercultural at the time, to be a communist and to have what some people would regard like a very like extreme view sort of thing. So I feel like that's kind of that ninth house we were talking about. He has a Moon-Jupiter conjunction, and I think that that also speaks to political activism and the involvement in the Communist Party. He was very open-minded and forward-thinking. He also has a Mars-Jupiter square that I think is very, like, motivating to have natally, like, depending on if he has a day chart or a night chart. And then let's look at Ethel's chart.
Ooh, Venus Sun conjunction.
Both Aries rising
in Libra.
I don't have birth times for them, so it's kind of like it's not divided by houses.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Moon trining the Venus Sun conjunction in Libra, and a whole lot of planets in Cancer, Pluto, Saturn, and Mars in Cancer. So we can tell that Cancer is going to be a house that causes some problems for her. And it's a Uranus-Neptune opposition, with Neptune in Leo and Uranus in Aquarius, and Jupiter in Pisces, retrograde in Pisces, trining all of those Cancer planets.
Yes. I also think that the Libra stuff showed up in the 11th house of the event chart, if I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. And then was that 3 Libra?
Yeah, we go back to her chart again really quick. So the Sun and Venus are kind of at 4 to 6 degrees Libra, and the Moon in the death chart was 3 degrees Libra. Fascinating. Yes.
Very, very. I love all of the synchronicities and similarities that are here. So Ethel was born Ethel Greenglass. She was born on September 25th, 1915 in New York, New York. We do not have a birth time for her, but she is most likely a Libra sun with a Gemini moon. Maybe the moon was at a different place, but I feel like, I don't know. But both her and Julius are Venus-ruled suns, and they have the same moon sign, hypothetically. So I like that for them.
Yeah.
And I also think that the Venus conjunct her sun, she's very beautiful, likable, sociable. But if she has a day chart, I feel like that Venus sun conjunction could also just like tie her identity into her partner's identity. And I feel like that very much does kind of happen for her here. Like she's kind of known for the people that who she has around her, her partner, the people she loves. And that's a big part of her identity and her motivations. She was born to a Jewish family in Manhattan, so both she and Julius come from Jewish backgrounds, and they were born in New York. Ethel had a brother named David Greenglass, who will also be an important figure in this story. He was born on March 2nd, 1922. I don't have to pull up his chart.
Pisces.
There's so many. Yes, he's a Pisces with a Aries moon, possibly Taurus. Okay. Julius and Ethel met at a meeting for the Young Communist League in 1936 when Ethel was 21 and Julius was 18. And 3 years later, they were married. And that same year, Julius graduated with a degree in electrical engineering. They were happily married and they had 2 sons. From 1940 to 1945, Julius worked for the Army Signal Corps Engineering Laboratories in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. He was discharged in 1945 because his employers found out about his previous membership with the Communist Party. But throughout his time he was employed for the United States government, he was relaying secret information about nuclear weapons and military technology to the Soviet Union. So yes, the Red Scare was happening and people were being falsely accused of this, but they were doing this. So Julius was indeed a spy. The speculated date Julius was recruited as a spy was Monday, September 7th, 1942. So it was Labor Day that year, and it was less than a year after Pearl Harbor and the United States had entered the war. So Julius specifically had been recruited because of his job, his access to important information, and his ability to recruit other potential spies. So over the next few years, Rosenberg supplied thousands of classified documents to the Soviets, including reports from Emerson Radio, one of the United States' largest electronic distributors, as well as the National Advisory Committee of Aeronautics, which included detailed blueprints and production drawings of fighter jets. In January 1950, a German immigrant and physicist, Klaus Fuchs, who had been working for the Manhattan Project in the Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico, Klaus had been arrested on charges of espionage and providing top secret information to the Soviet Union. So during this time, like we talked about, if you were able to name other names of people that were suspected to have been involved in espionage or just communism in general, you could potentially earn yourself a lesser sentence. So Klaus Fuchs names Harry Gold. He is a Swiss immigrant and a chemist. And he was his courier, which means that Gold was the one who brought Fuchs' information to the Soviets. So Fuchs would tell Gold, Gold would tell the Soviets. After the arrest of Gold, the FBI followed this trail to many others, which included David Greenglass, Ethel's brother. So David was working on the Manhattan Project at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which was the same lab as Klaus Fuchs. And in order to pass the security clearance, he omitted certain information about his previous involvement in the Communist Party. And it was Julius Rosenberg who recruited David to spy for the Soviet Union in 1944. And in June 1950, just a few months after the arrest of Klaus Fuchs, David Greenglass was arrested for espionage, and he quickly implicated his brother-in-law, Julius Rosenberg. So we can look back at the event chart. In his initial remarks, In August 1940, David denied his sister's involvement. He said it was just Julius, and he was the kingpin of this big spy ring. So initially, it was just Julius who was being implicated for this, and Ethel was not involved. But David Greenglass and his wife, Ruth, were given an opportunity for a lesser sentence and immunity for David's wife, Ruth. So she was also a spy, kind of a part of it with him. He would get a lesser sentence and she would be able to stay home and take care of their parents. No, not their parents, their children. Sorry. Okay. Be able to stay home and take care of the children. So in February 1951, the Greenglasses changed their testimonies, claiming that Ethel was involved in the espionage as well. So David is saying this about his own sister.
Oh my God.
David and Ruth both claimed that they had witnessed Julius giving Ethel top secret information, and she would immediately go and type it up for him. And then that stuff that she had typed would be the information that he would give to the courier and then take to the Soviets. David Greenglass ended up being the primary witness in the case against the Rosenbergs. He testified against his sister and brother-in-law, and the Rosenbergs were found guilty of conspiracy to commit espionage. And the prosecution knew that the case against Ethel was not nearly as strong as the case against Julius, but they felt that it was important that she be convicted too. Julius had refused to give other names or any information, and so the prosecution thought that if they were to target his wife as well, he might talk, but they were united and they both refused to say anything. And with all the anti-communist rhetoric going around in the United States, the judge was determined to give a harsh sentence to make a statement. So the judge said, "I believe your conduct in putting into the hands of the Russians the A-bomb, years before our best scientists predicted Russia would perfect the bomb, has already caused, in my opinion, the communist aggression in Korea, with the resultant casualties exceeding 50,000, and who knows how many millions more of innocent people may pay the price of your treason."
Oh my God. But just like think of Trump and what he's done with classified information, and just like, I'm sure Putin has all of it. Nothing's happening to him. Whereas these guys.
Yep. Yeah. So on March 29th, 1951, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were sentenced to death. They were given the opportunity to avoid their harsh sentencing if they named names of other conspirators, but the Rosenbergs gave a public response to this, saying, "By asking us to repudiate the truth of our innocence, the government admits its own doubts concerning our guilt. We will not be coerced, even under pain of death, to bear false witness." After the sentencing, many people were outraged and believed that the Rosenbergs, particularly Ethel, were given too harsh of a sentence. Very, very few people had been executed for espionage in the past, and many sources I read said that this was the first execution in the United States during quote unquote peacetime. So when we were not actively involved in a war, but there's never really been peacetime in the United States. Yeah. But both Julius and Ethel were Jewish as well. So there were a lot of people talking about anti-Semitism and how their Jewish identity likely affected the ruling, especially after World War II. The Rosenbergs' attorney worked for the next 2 years to have the ruling overturned. And I feel like you were talking about initially there was somebody who was trying to do good. Oh, well,
I feel like Carly, you said they might
I did say like a woman, like a woman who is like in a bad situation, like in the sixth house. So like she's, what did I say? I think I said she's trapped or something. She's sick, or she's.
I definitely feel like this is like just the house of misfortune. Like she was unfortunately just attached. Her identity was just attached to her husband's wrongdoings. And it just looked better for the court if they killed her too.
Yeah, you know? Gosh. And the Venus square Pluto. That's
and they was a bit different, but they were stealing information, or he was at least. That him stealing information, being tried for that makes more sense. Oh no, but then the guy who accused him also weaving a lot of stories, but like the stealing of information's more directly related.
Yeah, and I also said there's someone like trying to get glory. And I feel like, you know, an authority figure or trying to get glory by killing
it's like
or something.
This judge and like all of these people, like it looks better for all of these people in power if this message that they're sending about communism and spies infiltrating the government, and this like makes them look right. You know, it's like, see, we were right and we're taking this seriously. So there were actually many celebrities and respected people who spoke out against this ruling. Also, their attorney appealed it to the U.S. Supreme Court 9 times.
Oh my.
And every time they were denied. But celebrities spoke out against this. Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera, Albert Einstein, and Pablo Picasso all publicly spoke about this. And even Pope Pius XII tried to appeal to President Eisenhower, saying that the ruling should be overturned or rethought. But on February 11th, 1953, Julius and Ethel were denied clemency and all other appeals were rejected. And they were scheduled for execution on June 19th, 1953. So this is the day before my birthday also.
Oh, man.
The original...
You were in 1953?
No, 1954. Sorry, 2000. But the original timing of their execution was 11 p.m. on the evening of Friday, June 19th. But their attorneys argued that it was inhumane to execute the Rosenbergs to Jewish people on the day of the Sabbath. It was like the day before the Sabbath, but it was so close to the Sabbath. So they were saying it was inhumane to execute them on this day. The judge decided instead of moving it back, they moved it up 3 hours to 8 p.m. Yeah. So that is the chart that I have here. Yeah. Julius died from the first electric shock, but Ethel's execution did not go as planned. Instead of the traditional 3 shocks to kill someone, Ethel was still alive, so they had to apply 2 more, totaling 5. And eyewitnesses said that they saw smoke rise from her head.
Oh, no.
It's just like, so, they also left behind 2 children, which is what we were talking about here. Michael, we were talking about the raising of children differently. Michael and Robert were their 2 boys. They were not adopted by their aunts and uncles or other family members because the other family members sided with the green glasses, David and Ruth. And they were eventually adopted by communist activists, Abel and Anne Maripol. And the boys worked for years to clear their parents' names and prove their innocence. Up until, I think that there was something around like 2000 to like 2008. The date is slipping my mind, but there was information that came out that basically confirmed that Julius Rosenberg was indeed a spy. He was giving this information. So they don't believe that their father, like they do know that their father was a spy, but they still are working for their mother to try to exonerate her. They co-wrote a biography about their parents called We Are Your Sons, The Legacy of Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. And then Robert wrote a memoir called Execution in the Family, One Son's Journey. And in 1990, Robert co-founded the Rosenberg Fund for Children, which is a nonprofit organization that provides support to children of targeted liberal or left-wing activists and targeted youth activists. So people like Greta Thunberg or like, I don't know. I can't think of
the daughter in One Battle After Another.
Yeah. Yes. And so he created that foundation, which I think is awesome. But they have tried many, many times to appeal to the U.S. government to have their mother exonerated as recently as the Biden administration, but it has not gotten.
Yeah, never going to happen.
Yeah. But that is the story of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg.
When are we going to execute Trump?
That is a great question.
Because those guys definitely didn't deserve it, even if guilty. Like, okay, prison.
Even if he was guilty, they didn't deserve to die.
Yeah,
that is exactly like, it is way, way too harsh of a punishment. Like, it's a really sad story, especially for Ethel, because she didn't even do anything. And then her whole family turns against her too. Like, what? I don't know.
Turning against the kids is awful.
Go back to her chart real quick.
To them.
Yes. There we go.
Okay, I'm trying to see so Mars in Cancer in her chart, Mars and Saturn and Pluto in Cancer. So the idea of her family being shitty, squaring the Venus in Libra, Sun in Libra. Okay.
And then it's like this moon being ruled over by the 0-degree Scorpio Mercury too.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like she just doesn't fit in the same way. They're like almost a little suspicious of her. I don't know. Without the houses, I feel like I'm not as great at like interpreting somebody's chart, but there's definitely themes that still stick out there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely like family is the problem with her.
Yeah.
If you just like can think of family as Cancer.
But I do think that she had a great relationship. We have that exalted, or the Venus in domicile, like, but here, I mean, it's still really close to the sun though. So it's still like,
but you know what? Okay. Good point. Because when a domicile planet is in its home sign with the sun, it's in its chariot. And so in the Greek idea, your chariot has a little canopy over it. So it's not debilitated by the sun. It's protected from the sun.
Yeah.
So usually
but the sun is also in its fall in Libra.
That's true.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's true.
So interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Mars whole sign square to Venus. So that can also be like a little relationship problem.
And born with the Pluto square Venus natally.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And she died on
a
Pluto square Venus. Dude.
Yeah. Wow.
That was an intense one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah,
wow.
That definitely was an intense one, but I felt
love
like
the story
was so interesting.
Yeah. Any final remarks?
Oh, I just have a question coming to mind, like, because you mentioned like, so the Red Scare, the Satanic Panic, like the witch trials, like moments in history where we've, say, overreacted to things. But then, like you mentioned, one of those guys was a communist spy. I don't think the punishment is justified, but there's like a little hint of truth. And then I think with the Satanic Panic, there are victims of satanic ritual abuse. And like our leaders right now, like Jeffrey Epstein's Island stuff, have been doing terrible things, if it's just sex trafficking or satanic related, whatever. And because I heard someone say at some time that like the Satanic Panic was completely made up, but then I've heard like they've proven that it was made up, but then I've heard there's heaps of evidence as well.
A big part of the Satanic Panic in the United States was this idea that schools, like preschool teachers were using the preschool students in satanic rituals. And there has never, ever been a preschool in the United States that subjected their preschool students to satanic ritual abuse. But during the Satanic Panic, there were thousands of court cases and trials and investigations into these various preschools saying that they were like underground satanic ritual abuse cases. I think there's a grain of truth in that, like, there's kids that are molested but mostly that kids that are molested by family members, not Satanists. It's
like definitely these bad things are happening, but like we're targeting the wrong people.
Yeah.
And I think that is also very much like with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening now, the propaganda is like, oh, immigrants are taking your jobs, when actually it's like rich people are hoarding wealth.
Yeah.
Yes. Because my question was like, how do we navigate these things so that they play out the right way? I don't know. Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of truth to it, and then it gets blown out of proportion. And then like, I also think a little bit of, I don't know, maybe this isn't true, but I feel like a lot of goth people were then like associated with like Satanism, which is like not the same thing. And so like kind of like coming after people for like their aesthetic and
just
like
pointing
their
the finger
like countercultural things. Yeah.
Well, you can also look at right now, there's a lot of panic around, oh no, trans kids being medically transitioned too soon. And it's literally like, no, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like
it's not happening.
It's not a thing that happens. But, if anything, not affirming someone's gender identity when they're a kid is going to lead to a lifetime of a lot of issues, including suicide. Yeah. I really have wondered if the upcoming Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries is going to have something to do with trans kids.
Where is Mars going to be on that day, since it'll be in Aries?
That's a really good...
February 26th.
February 26th.
Is that right?
I mean, it could also be a vigilante, which would be kind of cool, honestly, but whatever.
I'm going to get some more updates because with Luigi Mangione, they didn't read him his Miranda rights.
Yeah.
Who is
that? He shot the
United
Health Insurance Company.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God. I love having an Australian here who can put it in perspective, because like we in the United States are like,
yeah.
And then she's like,
but I have heard a lot of positive things about this as well.
Okay. Mars will be in Aquarius.
Right.
So there is a mutual reception between the Aries and the Aquarius there, between the Mars and the Saturn.
Venus is exalted in Pisces and Jupiter is exalted. I have seen cases where Venus has been in a very good position, making the moon is going into a conjunction with Jupiter where someone has been exonerated.
Ooh.
A well-deserved exoneration. So I wonder, of course,
putting that prediction into the universe.
Yeah. But of course, though, with the breakdown of law, what if he gets exonerated, but then gets assassinated, which would be terrible.
Because we do have the sextiles from both Pluto and Uranus. No, we don't. Uranus is not. Well,
I think it's also a little too soon to say exoneration, but maybe a positive turn in Luigi's case.
I mean, like the North Node is conjunct the Sun as well on this day. That is interesting. And then the Moon will be going to closer to Jupiter as well. So this will be an interesting day.
Yeah, February 26th. Looking forward to see what history gets made that day.
February has been, today is the 1st of February, but it is going to be a crazy month, I think.
Yeah, it's already been Epstein craziness,
Yes.
So much. I shared a post about that today. Don't let it slip under.
Yeah. But also, they only released 3 million. They were supposed to release 6 million. So we don't even have all of the files. We have half. Oh my God. It just actually makes my skin crawl. How much violence was happening under the surface. Yeah. That right under our noses. And these rich, powerful people just get away with it because they're rich and powerful. It is just,
But maybe it's time for a reckoning. Maybe it's time for all those women that we know in our lives who are with their shitty, shitty, shitty men. Are you going to break up? Are they going to break up? Are they going to?
Let's hope so.
Yeah, woman up and kick that man out. It is time. And I think 2026 is going to be about, we got to hit rock bottom before we see what needs to change in our lives. And then we're going to make that change, or the change will happen to us. Yeah. Good times. So this is a very long episode of the Astrology of Terrible Things. Thank you, Emily, for your wonderful story. Be sure to check out Emily's TikTok at Emily Simile, Emily spelled with an I-E, for short form Astrology of Terrible Things TikToks. And check out Karla Herschell on the podcast Cosmic Batter. All the links to Karla's content is in the show notes as well. And I'm Carly Heath. I have another podcast called Haunted Hollywood Hour. The Astrology of Terrible Things has a Instagram. You can follow us on the Astrology of Terrible Things, all one word, on Instagram. And be sure to like and subscribe and comment and review wherever you get your podcasts so other people can find this. Do I have anything else to say other than stay terrible?
Stay terrible.
Stay terrible.